It started on a cold, quiet evening, the kind that clings to the skin and makes the silence feel heavy. I was walking past the hallway when I saw a figure standing at the far end. At first, I thought it was my brother. Same height, same clothes, same messy hair falling into his eyes. But something about the way he stood so unnaturally still, like he was carved from wax, froze me in place. His head tilted ever so slightly to the side, his arms hanging stiffly like they didn't belong to him. He didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even blink. I squinted, trying to adjust my eyes in the dim hallway light, hoping it was just a shadow playing tricks on me. I called his name, but he didn't answer. Not even a twitch. Just silence and that awful stillness. Slowly, he started to smile wide. Too wide, like he was trying to remember how a human smile worked, but couldn't quite get it right. My chest tightened. That wasn't how my brother smiled. I took a step forward, heart pounding in my throat. The light above him flickered once, twice, then went out completely, leaving the hallway drenched in darkness. I backed away, my breath hitching. Suddenly, I heard footsteps, not heavy ones, but soft, dragging steps like someone walking barefoot. Across tile. When I flipped the light back on, the hallway was empty. No one there. But I could still feel something, as if a presence had brushed against me, cold and curious. Later that night, I asked my mom if my brother had been home earlier. She looked confused and said he was still at his friend's place, hadn't come. Back since morning, I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying what I saw, how every detail matched him perfectly, down to the faded band logo on his shirt. But the way it stared, the way it smiled, it didn't belong to him. It wasn't. A person. Something was pretending, mimicking, studying, like it had slipped into our world and picked his face out of a lineup. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it standing there, head cocked, that grin tearing across its face. The second time I saw it, I tried to convince myself it was just my brother playing a weird prank. But the longer I watched, the more I knew something was deeply wrong. It moved, but not like a person. Its arms swayed slightly, but its shoulders didn't, its feet made no sound on the wooden floor, and its head never stopped tilting, as if it were listening for something I couldn't hear. The grin was still there, unnatural, frozen, as if it had been carved into its skin. It didn't blink, just stared with eyes too wide, too dark, like there was no light behind them. When I finally spoke, asking what it wanted, it turned its head toward me in a single jerking motion that made my stomach twist. It didn't respond. Its mouth opened, not to speak, but to stretch wider, revealing rows of teeth that seemed to go farther back than a human mouth should allow. My brother had a small scar under his chin from falling off a bike when we were kids. This thing had it too, but it looked like someone had drawn it on with a blade. Mimicking the detail without understanding what it meant. It began copying more than just appearance. I heard it humming a song only the two of us knew from childhood. It used his voice perfectly to say my name, to call from other rooms when no one was there. But the tone was wrong, flat, empty, like it was repeating words it didn't understand. The worst part was when it started following me through mirrors. I'd catch its reflection standing behind me, not moving, never breathing. Even when I turned, the room would be empty, but I knew it had been there, watching me with my brother's stolen face. After that night, the house began to feel different, heavier, colder, like something unseen had settled into the walls. It started with small things, doors creaking open by themselves, lights flickering in rooms no one entered, the television turning on with static in the middle of the night, but then it escalated. I'd hear footsteps above my room, slow and deliberate, even though the attic was sealed shut. Our dog, once fearless, refused to go down the hallway where I had first seen it. He would growl low, his hackles raised, and sometimes he'd whimper and back away saw something I couldn't. The air itself felt wrong, like breathing in something spoiled. Shadows stretched longer than they should, sometimes moving against the direction of the light. And the whispers, they came at night, faint at first, like a radio tuned between stations. Then louder, clearer, they said my name, repeated it with a wet, guttural hiss. They told me to forget. Told me he was never real. My room became the only place that felt even remotely safe, but even that was an illusion. I would wake up to find objects moved, drawers open, clothes torn, family photos placed face down on my desk. Once, I found muddy footprints leading from my closet to the foot of my bed. The smell of damp earth lingered for hours. Sometimes it would mimic his voice outside my door, asking to be let in, saying it was cold. I never opened it. One night, I saw its fingers long, pale, jointed in the wrong places, slide under the door frame, tapping gently on the floor. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't move. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just haunting the house, it was infecting it, trying to make it part of itself, trying to make me believe it had always belonged here. It didn't just wear his face, it wanted to become him completely. I started noticing our family photos changing. At first, I thought I was losing my mind, but the pictures told a different story. In one, his smile was wrong, stretched too wide. In another, his eyes were black dots, like someone had burned through the image. It was subtle at first, but over time, the changes grew more disturbing. In one frame, his hands were reversed thumbs on the wrong side. In another, he wasn't standing with us at all. Instead, he was just behind us, slightly out of focus, like he had been inserted into the image after it was taken. The photos we kept in albums began to decay. His face would blur or smudge like wet ink, while the rest of us remained perfectly clear. When I showed my parents, they didn't see it. They laughed, said I was overthinking, told me it was just old pictures degrading with time, but I knew better. I tried taking new pictures of him, but each one came out corrupted. His eyes would be hollow, or the background behind him would twist unnaturally, like the space around him was rejecting his presence. The more I looked, the more I realized it wasn't just pictures. Video clips started glitching whenever he appeared, static bursts, frames repeating, his movements becoming jerky and unnatural. Audio recordings captured faint breathing under his voice, like someone else was whispering through him. Then one day, I found a drawing I made when I was 5, a family sketch. But now, in the corner, there was an extra figure, a black scribble with too many arms, staring with a blank face. I don't remember drawing it. I don't remember that figure ever being part of our family. But now it was everywhere, in our memories, in our reflections, in the very fabric of our home. It began watching me more closely, always from a distance, always just barely out of reach. In mirrors, in windows, in reflections across dark screens, it would appear for a moment and vanish when I turned to look. It didn't speak anymore, it didn't need to. It just stared with that twisted grin, as if it knew something I hadn't figured out yet. I could feel it getting bolder, as if my fear was feeding it. My room no longer felt safe. I'd wake up to find my door unlocked, even though I checked it 3 times before bed. Clothes that weren't mine appeared folded in my drawer, clothes that matched what it wore. One morning, I found a toothbrush next to mine identical, but stained red at the bristles. It was learning to move like me, to breathe like me. I caught it mimicking my voice in the hallway, repeating a phone call I'd made earlier, word for word, with perfect intonation but no understanding. I saw it wearing my hoodie, standing in the exact way I do when I'm lost in thought. I watched it place its hand against the hallway mirror, and for a moment, I felt a pulse of recognition, not in my mind, but in the glass. Like the mirror didn't know who to reflect anymore. Like the boundaries between us were starting to break down. It followed me to school once. I saw it across the street, waving. My best friend said I had waved back, but I don't remember doing it. I've started hearing my own voice whispering at night, whispering things I never said, things no one should say. I've begun to wonder if it ever needed my brother at all, or if wearing his face was just the beginning. If I'm not careful, if I let my guard down even once, it won't need his face anymore. It'll have mine.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.